The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of the riverside gallery, sending crystal fragments skittering across the polished surface like fallen stars. Hey, my. Chen stood frozen in her emerald silk dress, her hand still raised from the slap she'd just delivered to the man who'd been her business partner for 3 years. "You absolute bastard," she whispered, her voice trembling with rage and betrayal. The gallery fell silent around them, dozens of art collectors and critics turning to witness the spectacle unfolding between the city's most successful gallery duo. Adrian Cross touched his reddened cheek, his dark eyes flashing with something between hurt and admiration. His tailored black suit remained impeccable despite the chaos, his silver cufflinks catching the warm gallery lighting. "Maya, let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you've been selling my father's paintings behind my back? That you forged his signature on contracts while he was dying in that hospital bed?" Her chest heaved with each accusation, the betrayal cutting deeper than any blade. The crowd pressed closer, phones emerging from evening bags and jacket pockets. Maya could already see tomorrow's headlines forming in the hungry eyes of the art world gossip surrounding them. Adrian stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that only she could hear. "Your father asked me to do it. He was dying, Maya. He wanted to secure your future." "Liar." The word left her lips like venom. "He would never. He was protecting you from the truth about the gallery's finances. We were 3 months from bankruptcy." Adrian's confession hit her like a physical blow. "Every painting I sold kept us afloat, kept your dream alive." Maya's world tilted on its axis. The gallery walls, adorned with her carefully curated collection, seemed to close in around her. This space had been her sanctuary, her life's work. Built on what she thought was honest success and her father's artistic legacy. "You're lying," she repeated, but uncertainty crept into her voice. Adrian pulled out his phone, his fingers moving swiftly across the screen. "Bank statements, loan documents, your father's medical bills, all of it." He held the device toward her. "Look at it, Maya. Face the truth." She stared at the screen, numbers blurring through her tears. The financial records painted a picture of desperation she'd never imagined. Her father, the renowned artist Chen Weiming, had been drowning in debt from his cancer treatments. The gallery, her pride and joy, had been hemorrhaging money for months. "I trusted you," she whispered, the fight draining out of her voice. "And I saved us both." Adrian's hand moved as if to touch her face, then stopped. "Everything I did was to protect what we built together." The gallery light seemed harsher now, exposing every flaw in the carefully constructed facade of her life. Maya looked around at the watching crowd, at the paintings hanging on the walls, each one now tainted with questions about authenticity and ownership. "Get out," she said quietly. "Maya, get out." Her voice echoed through the gallery, bouncing off the high ceilings and expensive artwork. "All of you, get out." Galleries closed. The crowd began to disperse reluctantly, murmuring among themselves as they filed toward the exit. Adrian remained motionless, his eyes never leaving her face. "This isn't over," he said softly. "Tomorrow, when you've had time to think, you'll realize I was right. Tomorrow, I'm calling the police." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Then you'll destroy everything your father died trying to save." With that, he turned and walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the empty gallery. Maya stood alone among the scattered champagne glass, surrounded by the art that had defined her entire adult life, wondering if any of it had ever been real. Outside, rain began to fall against the tall windows, each drop racing down the glass like the tears she refused to let fall. Maya's apartment felt suffocating at 3 in the morning. She sat curled on her leather sofa, surrounded by boxes of her father's personal papers she'd retrieved from storage, searching for any trace of the truth Adrian claimed to possess. Empty. Wine bottles stood sentinel on her coffee table, witnesses to her desperate quest for answers. Her phone had been buzzing incessantly with calls from reporters, art dealers, and concerned friends who'd witnessed the gallery incident. She'd ignored them all, but when Adrian's name flashed across the screen for the 15th time, she finally answered. "What do you want?" "To show you something that will change everything." His voice sounded hoarse, tired. "Meet me at the warehouse on 5th Street, the one where we store the overflow pieces. It's 3 a.m., Adrian, and I'm not meeting you anywhere. Your father's final painting is there. The one he never wanted you to see." Maya's blood chilled. She'd been through every piece in her father's studio after his death 6 months ago. There had been no final painting. "You're lying again." "Painting that explains why he asked me to forge his signature. Why he begged me to sell his work without telling you. Meet me there, Maya, and I'll show you everything." The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, her mind racing. Every instinct screamed at her to stay away, but the possibility of understanding her father's final months pulled at her like gravity. 20 minutes later, she stood outside the converted warehouse, rain soaking through her hastily thrown-in clothes. Adrian's silhouette was visible through the frosted glass doors, illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights within. She found him standing before an easel covered by a white sheet, his usual confidence replaced by something that looked almost like grief. "Show me," she demanded without preamble. Adrian's hand hesitated on the sheet. "This is going to hurt, Maya. Your father made me promise to never let you see it while he was alive. Show me." He pulled away the sheet, and Maya's world shattered. Completely. The painting was her father's unmistakable style, but the subject matter made her stumble backward. It depicted a younger version of herself, perhaps 16, standing in their old family home. But her father had painted her with hollow, haunted eyes, and in the background, shadowy figures loomed like predators. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Adrian." "Moved to another covered easel nearby? There's more." The second painting showed their old house again, but this time Maya recognized the shadowy figures. Her uncle Chen Lu, her father's business partner, her high school art teacher, Mr. Morrison, the family friend who used to visit for dinner every Sunday. "Your father discovered what they were doing to you," Adrian said quietly. "The memory blocks, the psychological manipulation they were using. You, Maya, your artistic gift, your ability to see authenticity in artwork. They were grooming you to be their unknowing accomplice in an art forgery ring." Maya's legs gave out. She sank to the cold concrete floor, memories flooding back in violent waves. Fragments she'd buried deep. Moments that had felt wrong but which she'd been taught to forget. "That's impossible," she gasped. But even as she spoke, images flashed through her mind. Late-night sessions with her uncle where she'd examine paintings and give her opinion. Her teacher's odd questions about famous artworks, the way certain family friends had always paid such close attention to her artistic assessments. Your father found evidence, documentation of their operation. They were using your natural talent to authenticate stolen and forged pieces. Adrian knelt beside her, his voice gentle now. When he confronted them, they threatened to destroy your mind completely. So he made a deal. What kind of deal? He would disappear with you? Start over? But they wanted compensation for their lost investment in you. Adrian's face was grim. Every painting he created after that night went to paying them off. For 16 years, Maya, every piece of art that made our gallery successful was blood money. The warehouse spun around her. Everything she'd believed about her life, her career, her father's success, crumbled like sand. The cancer treatments, she whispered, were bankrupting him because he couldn't stop paying them. They said if he ever missed a payment, they'd come for you again. Adrian's hand touched her shoulder tentatively. When he got sick, he was terrified of leaving you unprotected, so he asked me to continue the payments by any means necessary. Maya looked up at him through her tears. You've been paying them? Every month for 6 months. Using the money from the paintings I sold under his forged signature. Adrian's eyes were dark with pain. I've been protecting you the only way I knew how. Why didn't you tell me? Because your father made me swear that if anything happened to him, I would keep you safe and keep you ignorant, he said. The knowledge would destroy you. Maya struggled to her feet, her mind reeling. So everything, our entire partnership, was built on your father's love for you. On his desperate need to keep you safe. Adrian stood as well, his usual composed mask completely gone. And on my feelings for you, which made it impossible for me to let anything happen to you." The words hung between them like a bridge neither had expected to cross. Maya stared at him, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time. Not the composed businessman, not the betrayer she'd accused him of being, but a man who'd been carrying an impossible burden alone. "They're still out there," she said suddenly. "These people are still very much alive, and very interested in your continued cooperation." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Which is why we need to disappear tonight." Tied the warehouse car doors. Slammed in the rain-soaked darkness, Maya and Adrian froze, their eyes meeting in sudden shared terror. "Too late," Adrian whispered. "Back exit," Adrian whispered, grabbing Maya's hand. They moved silently between the stored paintings, their footsteps muffled by years of accumulated dust. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows that seemed to reach for them as they passed. The sound of the front door being forced open echoed through the warehouse like a gunshot. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs as Adrian led her deeper into the maze of stored artwork, each canvas a potential hiding place or trap. "Maya Chen," a familiar voice called out. Her blood turned to ice. Uncle Chen Lu, the man who'd bounced her on his knee as a child, now sounded like a predator calling for prey. "We know you're here, Adrian too.
Ow.
Let's discuss this like civilized people." Adrian pressed Maya against a large painting of a seascape, his body shielding her from view. His breath was warm against her ear as he whispered, "There's a fire exit 30 feet behind you. When I create a distraction, run. I'm not leaving you," she breathed back. "This isn't negotiable." His eyes met hers in the dim light. "I want you alive and functional. Me? Not so much." Footsteps approached their hiding spot. Maya could hear at least 3 different people moving through the warehouse, their shoes clicking against the concrete with methodical precision. "Your father was a brilliant man," Chen Lu continued, his voice closer now, "but he misunderstood our arrangement. We're not criminals, Maya. We're preservationists. Guardians of art that would otherwise disappear into private collections where no one could appreciate it." "Thieves," Adrian called out, his voice echoing from somewhere to their left. Maya realized he'd moved, drawing their attention away from her location. "You're thieves and manipulators?" "Right." "Harsh words from someone who's been forging signatures for months," a new voice replied. Maya recognized it as Mr. Morrison, her old art teacher. The man who'd encouraged her gift, who'd praised her ability to see the truth in artwork. "We taught her well, didn't we, Adrian? She can spot a fake from across a room, except when she's looking at the people she trusts." Chen Lu added, with dark amusement. Maya pressed herself deeper into the shadows, her mind racing. The fire exit Adrian had mentioned was behind her, but she could barely make it out in the darkness. Getting there would mean crossing an open space where she'd be visible. "Come out, Maya," Morrison called. "We're not here to hurt you. We simply want to resume our old arrangement. Your expertise in exchange for a very comfortable life." The comfort of slavery Adrian's voice came from a different location now. He was moving, trying to keep them guessing his position. "Slavery is such an ugly word," Chen Lu replied. "We prefer partnership. After all, we made your father quite wealthy before his unfortunate illness." Maya spotted movement in her peripheral. Vision Adrian was working his way toward the front of the warehouse, using the stored paintings as cover. She realized with growing horror what he was planning. "The truth is," Maya Morrison continued, "your father's artistic gift was nothing. Compared to yours, he could create beautiful things, yes, but you can see into the soul of art itself. You can tell us things about provenance, about authenticity, that no amount of scientific testing can reveal. That's why we invested so much in your education," Chen Lu added. "Why we shaped your mind so carefully. You're not our victim, dear. Niece, you're our masterpiece." The words hit Maya like physical blows. Every childhood memory, every moment of praise and encouragement had been manipulation. Her entire sense of self crumbled under the weight of their revelations. That's when Adrian made his move. The crash of toppling paintings created chaos in the warehouse. Maya heard her uncle curse as heavy frames cascaded around him. In the confusion, Adrian appeared beside her like a ghost. Now, he said, grabbing her hand. They ran for the fire exit, but Chen Lu was faster than they'd anticipated. He appeared in their path, blocking their escape, a gun in his weathered hand. Really, Maya? After everything we've invested in you? You'd choose this amateur forger over your own family? Adrian stepped in front of Maya, his arms spread wide. Let her go. Our business is with me. Actually, our business died with her father. Now it's personal. Chen Lu's finger tightened on the trigger. That's when Maya made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She grabbed Adrian's face with both hands and kissed him. It wasn't a gentle kiss or a romantic gesture. It was desperate, fierce, full of 3 years of unspoken feelings and the terror of losing him. It was a claim and a goodbye and a declaration all at once. The kiss lasted only seconds. But when she pulled away, something fundamental had shifted between them. Adrian's eyes were wide with shock and something deeper. Well, Chen Lu said with amusement, that was unexpected. I suppose it explains why Adrian was so willing to destroy his reputation for you. Let us go, Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt.
I'll do whatever you want.
But let him go. Maya, no. Adrian protested. I'm not losing anyone else I love, she said firmly, the words coming out before she could stop them, the admission. Hung in the air like a challenge, Chen Lu studied them both with calculating eyes. Love. How wonderfully inconvenient. He gestured with the gun. Move away from her, Adrian. No. No. Chen Lu's eyebrows rose. I have a gun, and you have what? Exactly. Adrian smiled grimly. I have something you need more than Maya's cooperation. What could you possibly, the location of your stolen Monet collection? The one that disappeared from your warehouse in Hong Kong last month. Maya watched her uncle's face change, confidence flickering to uncertainty. You're bluffing, am I? Try me? Adrian's voice was deadly calm. Let us walk out of here and I'll tell you exactly where your $50 million worth of stolen Impressionist paintings ended up. The warehouse fell silent, except for the rain hammering against the roof. Maya could feel the tension crackling between the two men like electricity. Chen. Lu's gun wavered slightly. How could you possibly know? Because I'm the one who had them moved. Adrian's smile was sharp as broken glass. Insurance policy. I've been planning for this conversation for months. Maya stared at Adrian in shock. The man she thought she knew kept revealing new layers, each more dangerous than the last. You've been busy, Chen Lu said softly. I've been thorough. Adrian's hand found Maya's, squeezing gently. So what's it going to be? A mutually beneficial arrangement? Or do we all go down together? The sound of sirens in the distance made everyone freeze. Police Morrison called from somewhere in the warehouse. Someone called the cops. Chen Lu's eyes narrowed as he looked at Adrian. This isn't over. No, Adrian agreed. But tonight we walk away. The sirens grew louder. Chen Lu hesitated for one more moment, then lowered his gun and disappeared into the shadows between the paintings. Maya and Adrian stood alone in the warehouse, still holding hands, both breathing hard. The police, Maya whispered. I called them. Before I called you, Adrian admitted. Backup plan. She stared at him. You manipulated me into coming here. I saved your life. By lying to me again. By protecting you always. The kiss still burned between them, unresolved and dangerous. Maya looked at this man who'd turned her world upside down, who'd been her partner and her protector and her betrayer all at once. I don't know who you really are, she said quietly. Then let me show you, he replied, pulling her toward the approaching sirens and whatever came next. The police station's fluorescent lights were unforgiving at dawn. Maya sat in Detective Rodriguez's office, cradling her 5th cup of coffee, watching Adrian through the glass partition as he spoke with federal agents. His lawyer had arrived an hour ago, along with men in expensive suits who introduced themselves with badges and acronyms that made Maya's head spin. Art fraud, money laundering, international trafficking. Detective Rodriguez read from a thick file. Your partner has been busy, Ms. Chen. It's not my partner anymore, Maya said automatically, though the words felt wrong on her tongue. According to this, he's been feeding information to the FBI for 8 months. Your uncle's operation was bigger than just using you to authenticate stolen pieces. Rodriguez leaned back in his chair. They were running a full-scale international art theft ring, using your gallery as a front for money laundering. Maya's head spun. That's impossible. I would have known, would you? According to Agent Martinez, they were very good at compartmentalizing information. You saw only what they wanted you to see. Through the glass, Maya watched Adrian gesture emphatically at something one of the agents had said. Even exhausted and facing federal charges, he moved with that same controlled intensity that had attracted her from the first day they'd met. What happens to him now? It depends on how cooperative he continues to be, and on you. Maya turned. Away from the window? On me? The forged signatures. The gallery records. You're listed as a coner on several pieces that were moved through questionable channels. Rodriguez's expression was sympathetic but firm. Either you were an unwitting pawn or you were complicit. The DA needs to know which. I didn't know. Maya said quickly. I swear I had no idea then. You'll testify to that effect. Against your uncle, against your former teacher, and against Adrian Cross. The words hit her like cold water. Against Adrian. He may have been working with the FBI lately, but he still committed fraud using your father's signature. Still moved stolen artwork through your gallery. Good intentions don't erase crimes, Ms. Chen. Maya stared at her hands, remembering the way Adrian had stepped in front of that gun for her. The way he'd kissed her back in the warehouse, as if it might be their last moment together. I need to talk to him. That's not advisable while the investigation 5 minutes. Please, Rodriguez. Studied her for a long moment, then stood. 5 minutes. And it's recorded. The interview room was small and sterile, designed to make people uncomfortable. Adrian looked up when she entered, and Maya saw exhaustion in every line of his face. You look terrible, she said, taking the chair across from him. I've had better mornings. His attempt at humor fell flat. Maya, whatever they told you, they want me to testify against you. Adrian's jaw tightened. You should. What? You should testify against me. Tell them exactly what I did. The forged signatures, the hidden sales, all of it. His eyes were steady on hers. It's the only way to clear yourself completely. Maya leaned forward. Adrian, what aren't you telling me? He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. The FBI approached me 9 months ago. They had evidence of your uncle's operation, but they needed someone on the inside to build a solid case. His hands were clenched on the metal table. I was supposed to gather information and get out before anyone got hurt, but I fell in love with you. The admission hung between them like a confession. I realized that extracting myself meant leaving you vulnerable too. People who saw you as property. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. So you stayed. I stayed. I kept forging your father's signature to maintain the cover. I kept selling paintings to keep the money flowing so they wouldn't get suspicious. His eyes were dark with pain. I compromised the investigation to protect you, Adrian. The Monet collection I mentioned to your uncle, it's real. I helped steal it from their Hong Kong operation 3 months ago, working with the FBI, but I also skimmed 2 paintings for myself. His confession came out in a rush. Insurance, I told myself. Leverage to keep you safe if everything went wrong. Maya felt the room spinning around her. You actually stole paintings? I actually stole paintings. From thieves, but yes. Adrian's smile was bitter. Turns out I'm not the white knight I pretended to be. Where are they now? Safe. Hidden where your uncle and his people will never find them. Adrian leaned back in his chair. Worth about $12 million? Enough to disappear completely? Start over somewhere new? The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. You're asking me to run away with you. I'm giving you a choice. Adrian's voice was steady now, resolved. Testify against me. Clear your name. Take over the gallery and build the life you always wanted, free from all of this. Or walk away from everything. The gallery, your reputation, your entire life here. Come with me and help me return those paintings to their rightful owners. Before we disappear forever, Maya stared at him. Those are terrible choices. They're the only choices I can give you. The door opened, and Detective Rodriguez stepped in. Time's up. Maya stood on shaking legs. I need to think, Maya. Adrian's voice stopped her at the door. Whatever you choose, know that I love you. Not because of your gift, not because of what you can do for anyone else, just because you're you. The detective led her back to his office, but Maya barely heard his questions about her statement or the timeline for the trial. Her mind was consumed with two impossible futures. The safe choice meant betraying the man who'd risked everything to protect her. Returning to a life built on foundations she now knew were rotten. The dangerous choice meant abandoning everything she'd worked for, becoming a fugitive with a man who'd lied to her from the beginning, even if his lies had been born from love. Ms. Chen, Rodriguez said patiently, we need your decision about testifying. Maya looked through the glass partition one more time. Adrian was being led away in handcuffs, but he turned back to meet her eyes. Even across the room she could see the question in his gaze, the choice that would define the rest of her life. She took a deep breath and made it. 6 months later, Maya stood on the terrace of a small villa overlooking the Mediterranean, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The olive trees below rustled in the evening breeze, and somewhere in the distance, church bells chimed the hour. She'd lost everything she thought she wanted, and found everything she never knew she needed. The decision had been surprisingly easy once she'd made it. In Rodriguez's office that morning, she'd looked at the detective and said simply, I want to speak to Adrian's lawyer. The next few weeks had been a carefully orchestrated dance of legal maneuvering and federal cooperation. Maya's testimony had helped convict her uncle and his associates, but she'd also provided crucial information about Adrian's true role as an FBI informant. Information that had reduced his charges significantly. Most importantly, she'd negotiated immunity for herself in exchange for helping the FBI recover the stolen Monet paintings Adrian had hidden. The pasta's ready, Adrian called from inside the villa. Maya smiled, turning away from the sunset. He stood in the kitchen doorway, flour dusting his dark shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. No expensive suits, no constant phone calls, no weight of secrets on his shoulders. You're getting better at this domestic thing, she said, wrapping her arms around his waist. I had good motivation to learn. He kissed the top of her head. How was your meeting with the museum director? Productive. They want me to authenticate 3 more pieces next month? Maya had discovered that her gift for seeing truth in artwork translated beautifully to consulting work. It's helping museums and private collectors verify their acquisitions through legitimate channels. And the gallery? Maya had sold the Riverside Gallery to a young couple from San Francisco who'd promised to preserve her father's legacy while building something new. The money had gone to paying off her father's debts and establishing a foundation. For art education in his name, the new owners are doing well. They sent photos of the latest exhibition. Maya pulled out her phone, showing Adrian images of bright, contemporary paintings. Filling the space where their drama had once unfolded, they ate dinner on the terrace as the stars emerged overhead. The stolen Monet paintings had been returned to their rightful owners through a complex arrangement with Interpol and the FBI, earning Adrian full immunity and Maya a clean slate. Do you ever regret it? Adrian asked as they shared a bottle of local wine. Which part? Slapping you in front of half the art world, or running away to Italy with a reformed art thief? Both. All of it. Maya considered the question seriously. I regret that it took so long for us to be honest with each other. I regret that my father carried his burden alone. I regret that I spent years building something on a foundation of lies. But I don't regret choosing love over safety. I don't regret trusting you when logic told me not to. She reached across the table to take his hand. And I definitely don't regret that kiss in the warehouse. Adrian's eyes darkened with memory. You know, I still think about that moment. When you grabbed me and kissed me like the world was ending, it was ending. Our old world anyway. And you're happy with this new one? Maya looked around at the villa they'd rented for the summer, at the man across from her who'd proven that love could be both dangerous and redemptive, at the life they were building together based on truth instead of deception. "I'm happy," she said simply. Later, as they lay in bed with the windows open to the Mediterranean breeze, Adrian traced patterns on Maya's bare shoulder. "I have something to tell you," he said softly. Maya tensed slightly. Even now, unexpected revelations made her nervous. "The art authentication work you've been doing," he continued. "It's not just consulting." "What do you mean?" "The FBI has been watching your success. I want to offer you a position as a specialist consultant for international art crimes." Maya sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. Rodriguez called this afternoon while you were at the museum. They're impressed with your ability to spot forgeries and your knowledge of international art trafficking networks." "Thanks to my uncle's education," Maya said bitterly. "Thanks to your natural gift and hard-won experience," Adrian corrected. "You could help recover stolen artwork, reunite pieces with their rightful owners, turn everything your uncle taught you into something positive." Maya was quiet for a long moment, processing the offer. "What about us? This life we're building?" "The position would be based here in Europe. We could keep the villa, travel together when cases require it." Adrian's hand found hers in the darkness. "We could have the life we want and meaningful work besides." "And you? What would you do?" "Well," Adrian said with a grin she could hear in his voice, "it turns out reformed art thieves make excellent security consultants for museums and private collectors. I've had 3 job offers this month." Maya laughed, the sound echoing through the villa's ancient stone walls. "So we'd be the art world's most notorious power couple. We'd be partners. In every sense of the word." Maya leaned down to kiss him, tasting possibility and promise on his lips. "Yes," she whispered against his mouth. "Yes to the FBI job. Yes to everything. To the work. To this life. To you." She pulled back to meet his eyes in the moonlight streaming through the windows. "To choosing love over fear, even when it's complicated. Especially when it's complicated," Adrian agreed, rolling her beneath him. Outside their villa, the Mediterranean waves whispered against the rocks, carrying away the last echoes of their old lives. In the morning, they would begin planning their new future, built on honesty and partnership and the kind of love that could survive betrayal and emerge stronger. But tonight, they simply held each other in the darkness, to people who had learned that sometimes the most beautiful art comes from broken pieces reassembled with gold, more precious for having been shattered and remade. A year later, newspapers would run stories about the dynamic duo helping recover priceless stolen artwork across Europe, but those articles would never capture the most important truth. Sometimes the greatest masterpieces are the lives we build together. It's painted with trust and forgiveness, framed by love that refuses to break. The end asterisk. Like this video. If the story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional tales and share with someone who believes in the power of true love. Let us know in the comments. We love connecting with our global community of romance lovers.